Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally gonna talk about something that is not travel. Travel has just been sort of my life lately, as you might have noticed. But today I want to talk about something else because I feel like there's more to me and more to this channel than just travel, so I figured I would mix it up a little bit. Something that I did briefly mention in my previous video, my video last week. If you haven't seen it, I'll put it somewhere up here. But something that I briefly mentioned is the books that I brought and how I didn't read them. But I thought on that same note, today I would make a video about my reading list. If you've watched my videos, talkie videos before, you will have seen this big boy over here, which is basically a stack of, in this case also notepads because I'm messy, but usually just books that I still want to read. So it's sort of my bedside table that isn't in the way too much. So if I were to actually read before bed, which I don't do enough, but if I would want to, my books will be over there. Basically, this is my list of books, a few of the books that I still want to read, and I'm gonna talk you through them and talk to you about why I want to read them, and maybe in the future I'll make like a follow-up video when I've read them about what I thought of them. Anyway, I just took 5-6 books and I'm just gonna talk through them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It feels very natural to say that, but I'm just gonna leave that in. I'm gonna start with a book that I actually bought just like 2 days ago because I couldn't help myself but buy more books, and it's this one. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and I bought this after seeing a few different YouTubers talking about it. It's supposed to be about manifestation, specifically about manifestation of money. I haven't started it yet, but I love the tagline because it says, "This book could be worth $1 million to you," and I feel like I love how big that promise is. We'll see if I'm rich in like a year. Yeah, I bought this book because I'm quite interested in manifestation, and I've been watching a lot of videos, but it seemed like fun and interesting to also read something about it, because sometimes it helps to get something in from different kinds of media, if that makes sense. So I figured I would read a book about it, and if I enjoy it I might read more by Napoleon Hill or more recommendations from people that have videos about manifestation. There's a few people talking about it online if you're more interested in that. I think I also mentioned some of them in my video back in November, my November favorites, but just in case I'm just going to mention them again. And they're Zoe Ariel. She's a Canadian girl living in Rome. She makes quite a lot of extensive videos on the topic. Heike Penna has made quite a few videos on it in the past, not so recently, but if you just browse through her channel, and maybe she even has a playlist about it. Cornelia Grimsmo makes quite a lot of videos about the law of attraction. I think Bonnie Rebecca has also made one or a few videos about law of attraction and manifestation, and Stella Ray also occasionally talks about it. So those are a few recommendations. Anyway, that's the first book. Another book that I bought at the same time as Think and Grow Rich the other day because I couldn't help myself is this one, and it is The Kind Diet by Alicia Silverstone. She's an actress, if you didn't know it, and she plays the lead part in Clueless, which is one of my favorite movies, because Emma by Jane Austen is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book. And Clueless is a modern adaptation to that, although not so modern anymore since it came out somewhere in the 90s. I very much love that movie, so sort of by extension I love Alicia Silverstone. And she's actually a vegan and quite passionate about it and being sustainable. So this book is technically like about diet and her specific diet, and there's also a lot of lifestyle related things in there, plus some good explanations as to why meat and dairy, for example, are bad for you. So I'm really looking forward to getting more into that in the near future, because it's a bit big to put over there. It would just fall off, but I've put it near my bed so I can just browse through it and see what kind of recipes I would like to use, because there's also a lot of recipes in here, and maybe sometime soon I'll cook something from it. Who knows? The next book I haven't read yet, but really should, and really looking forward to once I do, is this one. It's quite old, I think. It's called The Daughters of Decadence, and it is about women writers of the fin de siècle. I pronounce that horribly. I'm very sorry, French people. I can do French, I promise you. It just, once I talk English, it starts going like all American just misusing every language. Anyway, I got this book from my English teacher actually last year in school when I got an A on my listening test, my final listening test before graduation. And she was so proud of me, and I was like her second student ever to get an A. And she knew I loved feminist literature, so she gave me this book and she wrote a little note for me in it at the front page, so I have a nice memory of that in there. So I'm really looking forward to one day finally getting to it, but I feel like it's something that really requires and deserves my full attention, and I'm not really in a place of reading long and intensely. I'm just not really in a place where I feel comfortable reading this and fully like grasping it, so I'm just gonna hold off on that until I feel more mentally clear again. The next one is also about feminism because I am me and I love books about feminism, but strangely enough I bought neither of them because this one, Vagenda, which is the greatest name of a book ever if you ask me, I got for my birthday for my best friend, and she wrote all these cute little notes in there, and it's just like, that makes it sort of a present to read. And I started reading this when I was on my trip. I started reading it, but again, it was one of those books that I felt like required more attention, and I didn't have the attention, so I put it back in my backpack and didn't look at it again, because in the meantime I've been reading this book, which is the next book I'm going to talk about. But this book is about magazines and the marketing structures behind that, and how like the front sets a brilliant expose of women's mags and marketing, and that's pretty much what it's about. Yeah, this is from a review, but yeah, they talk about how the media sort of influence us to do and be a certain way. At least that's what I've got out of it so far. I've only read like 2 chapters, so don't take my word for it, but so far it seems like a very interesting read because I love journalism and media, so this is really a topic that interests me, and obviously my best friend knows that, so she gave me this book, and it just goes to show why she's my best friend, pretty much. So the next book I am actually reading, and I'm about halfway through, and it's Mansfield Park, and this is my last full novel by Jane Austen that I have to read. Then I've read all of them, so I started way back when I went on my trip to Berlin, my first trip to Berlin, which I think I re-uploaded to this channel, so if you want to check that out, I'll put the link either up here somewhere or in the description, or both. My first Jane Austen I read on the way to Berlin, and that was Pride and Prejudice, and I couldn't put it down. When I came to Berlin, I actually bought Sense and Sensibility as well. Then later I think I read Emma, which ended up being my favorite book pretty much of all time. I think after that next book I read was Persuasion, which is like the thinnest of the novels, and I think also the least well known, and I finished that I think at the end of the summer. But now I am reading my last novel. It's the thickest one, and I think it's quite interesting because I feel like this one, as far as I remember, is the most critiquing of society. All of the books have sort of a core in there of, hey, maybe you should do this differently, or this is wrong with society, but this one is very specifically, you can very clearly see the things that are happening and that they're wrong and right, and the main character Fanny has a really strong sense of morality, mostly because she's really raised that way, and she feels very responsible even at a young age. So it's very interesting to read because it's very clear who the good and bad guys are, even though they're not necessarily bad guys. That was a very weird explanation, but so far it's been a good book. It's just, you know, a little bit big for quick reading, especially since it's like quite old English, so sometimes it gets really tiring to just figure out what they're actually saying in a sentence. But for the most part you can read it quite easily, and so far I've really enjoyed it. Then the last book, which I actually haven't touched in forever, but I still wanted to mention it because I think it's probably very interesting. I only read like the foreword of this book, the preface or whatever you call that. I think there's 2 separate things, but anyway, it's this one. It's called Ethical Chic, the inside story of the companies we think we love, and it's by Fran Hawthorne, and it's basically about brands that portray themselves to be very ethical or good in some way. I think in specific they are talking about Starbucks, Timberlands and Apple, and they talk about how these brands sort of make us think that they're good in some way, but really they're not for this and this reason. And I think it's supposed to talk about things you need to look out for when you're looking for an ethical brand to support and stuff like that. And since I am a vegan and obviously I want to buy the most ethical things I can, this seemed like a very interesting read. Plus I actually got this at a book fest that I was working at, so I had a discount, which is always great. Anyway, those were all the books. I went through those quite quickly, so I hope I actually said something useful, and maybe one of those books sounded interesting to you. I hope you did find something to read in there maybe, or if you're like a quicker reader, you can probably read all of them. If I can do it one day, you can probably do it as well. I'll probably let you know if I read them and if I did find them interesting in the end. Until then, I will see you next week. Obviously in the meantime there's gonna be vlogs, but you'll see my fresh new in the here and now face next week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you then. Bye!